Hey y'all, it's your girl Unique here, and in today's video I am not going to do most of the talking. I'm actually going to let someone who's more of an expert and is more articulate explain this topic, because honestly this was something that I really tried to speak to people about and explain, because I've definitely been kind of a victim to this thing called love bombing. I don't know what the technical term is, but we're just gonna keep calling it love bombing, and she's gonna explain exactly what that is, because there are people out here that prey on our different types of intimacy and mental, emotional, spiritual, and obviously physical. I'm a very mental and spiritual person, so those ones are like at the forefront for me, but not everyone is like that. So when someone comes into your life, floods you with all these wonderful things, and they get into, well, for me, my mental, I turn fool. I just turn fool, and then I end up hurting myself because I'm not sticking to my boundaries, and then you just feel a little crazy later on and upset with yourself for not sticking to exactly what it is your beliefs are. Anyway, stay tuned and watch Blue. Her name's Blue Centric on Instagram. She's gonna let you know exactly what love bombing is. I love her. She's amazing. She is a beautiful woman. She is educated. She knows how to articulate a lot of things that we are all thinking but just can't find the words. Look, I can barely find the words now, but we just can't find the words all the time. But this might resonate with a lot of you out there, and hopefully it helps you find healthier balances in life, in healthier relationships. And remember, always put yourself first. We, especially women, forget this, but men can also be love bombed as well by their spouse. This is whoever, or you can be love bombing. Either way, hopefully this video allows you to see yourself and make sure you don't become this person. We all want to be better. We all want to take steps to be better, all right? So again, love yourself first, because if you don't love you, who gonna love you, boo? Stay tuned.
So there are 4 types of intimacy in this world. There is mental intimacy, there's emotional intimacy, spiritual intimacy, and last but definitely not least, physical intimacy. Have you ever met someone who made you feel like they had the ability to give you all 4? The conversations were great. They were super affectionate. They made you feel seen and loved and worthy. And then bam, out of nowhere, they flipped the script and disappeared on you, or started treating you in a way that made you feel less than. If this has happened to you, then you, my friend, may have been the victim of something called love bombing. Let's get into it. Love bombing is a term that is used to describe when someone, particularly a narcissist, tries to shower you and flood you with adoration, flattery, and grand gestures of love and kindness, so that you feel as if they are your savior. So as you feel as if you have met a kindred spirit who wants all the things that you want. But they're not saying these things in order to become a real friend or real lover or real colleague. They're doing it and pretending to be kindred so that they can manipulate you once you are dependent on their love and adoration. Now, some of you might be thinking, Blue, what's wrong with this? Life is hard enough. Why would I mind if someone came into my life and made me feel like I was special, whether they meant it or not? Well, actually, love bombing is actually really dangerous because it is a narcissist's favorite secret weapon. Once somebody comes into your life and they love bomb you, your defenses are down, your guard is down, and suddenly you find yourself agreeing to things that you normally wouldn't have if you weren't being glamored so much by their performative kindness. So, what are the signs of love bombing, right? How do you know you're being love bombed and you just haven't met a nice person? Well, the first sign of love bombing is the intensity of the relationship is disproportionate to how long you've been together, how long you've been close, or how long you've been connecting with them. If you find yourself only having been close to someone for 2 or 3 months, but they're expecting things of you and talking to you in a way that even your friends of many years often don't, that's a sign of love bombing. And to my lesbian friends out there who get roommates and lovers who want to marry them after the first date, yes, the LGBTQ community is a big big offender of love bombing. When you are being love bombed, you also have excessive communication from the person who's love bombing you. Love bombers love to spend 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 hours with you a night on the phone, making sure that they are constantly feeding you everything that you've ever wanted to hear from somebody. So if you're constantly talking to somebody and the amount of time that they're taking up in your life is taking you away from other things that you would usually get into, another sign of love bombing. Now, the third sign of a love bomber is someone who gives you excessive compliments. Now, trust me, honey, I love me a good compliment. I love it. I also get love bombed a lot, right? So love bombers are going to always want to stroke your ego because they know that's a great way to get your guard down. But here's the thing though, when you are dealing with a love bomber who gives you all these compliments and is spending all this time talking to you on the phone, and who's constantly making you feel like they are your knight in shining armor, the fourth sign of a love bomber is whenever you try to set a boundary, they resist it though. If you say no to a love bomber, they will freak out or find a way to talk you out of your boundaries. Love bombers do not like boundaries. If you find yourself giving up your boundaries, even if you're giving them up willingly, you might have got. And something is making you feel like this feels too good to be true. Be wary. And last but not least, a sign of a love bomber is they make promises very early on about a future, right? The whole point of love bombing is to make you feel as if you have a future with them. So suddenly you've known them for a couple of weeks and they already want to go on vacation with you. You've known them for a couple of weeks and they're already talking about what you're going to be doing a year from now. That is a sign of love bombing. Now here's the funny part. Did you watch this video and feel uncomfortable because I just accidentally described you? Now, if you Google love bombing, a word that's going to come out a lot is narcissist, right? A lot of people who are love bombers are narcissists, and that makes sense. But be careful, guys. You don't have to be a raging narcissist to be a love bomber. There are 4 types of people who tend to love bomb. The first type is narcissists. They want their ego stroked, and they'll say whatever they need to do. The second type of love bombers, though, are people who have rough childhoods where they were not given enough affirmation and love from their caregivers. And because they have a void in their heart from what they didn't receive as a child, they now find ways to passive-aggressively manipulate others into falling for them by making false promises. The third type of person who love bombs is somebody with abandonment issues who's had a lot of failure in their romantic lives or in their personal lives. If you know somebody who had a rough time and feels like they're constantly in fear of being abandoned and they've taken a lot of losses, a lot of L's in their personal life, suddenly that person finds themselves thinking, I just need a win. I am so tired of feeling like a loser. I just need a W. I just need a win. And when you find yourself thinking, damn it, I just need to win by any means necessary, that's a very, very, very slippery slope to you becoming a love bomber, just so you can get a W, whether you deserve it or not. The fourth and final type of person who often ends up being a love bomber is a deeply insecure person with low self-esteem who has convinced themselves that they are confident. If you are someone with low self-esteem and you are in denial about how low your self-esteem is, and you are walking around telling the whole world how confident and amazing you are, you become a love bomber because you need to find a way to get affirmation from people that makes you able to keep lying to yourself about how good you feel. You can't feel good on your own, so you need to have other people make you feel good by love bombing them so they can think that you're a savior, whether you're really equipped to save anybody, including yourself, or not. 4 really textbook steps. The first step is adulation and idealization. They put you on a pedestal. They make you feel like your connection with them is so amazing, and I've never felt so special. So special. The second stage of love bombing, once somebody has made you feel special, is the grooming stage. This person starts to make you feel like you need them and that you are codependent to feel good and to feel joy. They make you feel as if the disproportionate access that you are giving them to not just your life and maybe even your body, but also into your psyche is valid. And it gets to the point now where you find yourself consulting with them about things that are not their place to have an opinion on. Love bombers love to isolate people and make them feel as if they need to go to them more than anybody else. So a lot of times a love bomber will talk you into no longer talking to friends, family, or colleagues who they know are going to spot what they're doing and call bullshit. So if you are dealing with a love bomber, you've probably found yourself suddenly no longer talking to folks that you used to love. And once that has happened, right? Once you adore them and are giving them way too much power and access, the third stage starts to happen when you question it. When you find yourself questioning, why does something feel off? Stage 3 begins, and that's called devaluation. They're going to say things like, why are you being so difficult? Or, I didn't know you could be like this. Or, I thought you were different. They're going to make you feel as if you bamboozled them just because you want to have a mind of your own. And once you are devalued, you find yourself feeling panic because you're thinking, damn, let me not say no. Even if I don't want to do something, let me say yes. Because if I say no, he or she won't want me anymore. If I say no, that amazing future they promised me will disappear. If I say no, I will suddenly not be as shiny as they've led me to believe that I am. And you know what's sick about this? Love bombing and love bombers tend to go through cycles. So a love bomber will go through steps 1, 2, and 3 over and over again. They'll make you feel amazing. They'll make you feel dependent and groom you to feel as if you need them to breathe. And then they'll devalue you whenever you try to be independent. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And when they have gotten tired of you, have found another victim, or you talk to your therapist, one of your friends, and you start to call bullshit on your own life choices, suddenly you find yourself in the midst of stage 4, which is called discarding. They discard you when they realize that you are no longer the fool who is taking everything they say at face value. And so here you are, isolated, confused, dejected, wondering how the person that just a few months ago you thought was your everything has you feeling so worthless. And when they discard you, they'll act like it's your fault. They'll act like you did something wrong just because you had the nerve to want to take back some of your free agency. Love bombing is dangerous, but it is not uncommon, especially with social media. It is so easy on social media to read somebody's profile and see everything they like and mimic it back to them. It's so easy on social media to get into this cycle of being used to getting junk food affirmation, where you just press a button, beep, 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 and somebody tells you you're pretty, you're beautiful, gives you a like. We have all become so used to facsimiles of true intimacy that it makes love bombing really, really common. If you are watching this far into the video, it's because something's probably resonating, and there's a very, very good chance that you have either been love bombed, been a love bomber, or both. I've been both. There's no shame in admitting. And the thing is, because so many of us have gone through this, so many of us are devastated that 6-month relationship we had, why are we still crying over it 2 years later? The gag is, you're not crying over anything real. You're crying over a false promise that was never going to come into fruition. But don't lose hope. Let's end this on a high note. There are 5 ways that you can help prevent yourself from being a target of a love bomber. The first way is to objectively know your worth. Know your worth objectively so that you have decent self-esteem. But when someone is giving you excessive compliments and stroking your ego in order to manipulate you, you can tell that something is off. The second way to avoid this is just to pace yourself. If someone's really coming into your life with good intentions and someone really wants to have a forever with you, whether they want to be your best friend or your next romantic partner, pace yourself. Because if you're going to be around forever, what's the harm in going a little bit slower? Love bombers love to rush you. Love bombers rush the intimacy. But if you pace yourself, they'll either get bored and leave you alone, or they'll be going slow enough for you to actually be able to pause and recognize that you're being swindled. The third way to avoid being love bombed is to safeguard your boundaries. Anybody who will not allow you to have a reasonable boundary is someone who in some way is trying to coerce you into having a toxic relationship. So if you can't set a reasonable boundary without it being a problem, then you already know something's up. If saying no is something that's going to cause the whole world to erupt, then you already have your answer. It's been my lived experience that the only people who get offended by a healthy, reasonable boundary are those who benefited from you not having any. And the last 2 ways to avoid love bombing is to make sure that you introduce this person to someone you trust. your friends, your family, your tribe, people whose opinions you find invaluable. Make sure they meet this person. Because again, love bombers like to distort reality. So you need to crack open a window and let some sunlight of insight in from somebody that you trust, to not be a hater, but to also have your best interest in mind. Find that candid, no nonsense, loving friend, that's usually me and my friend group, who is going to tell you like it is, even if it hurts. And the final way to safeguard your peace is simply to remind yourself that you are living in an abundant world. Remind yourself of abundance, guys, because love bombers are operating from a place of lack, and they are banking on you also operating from a place of lack. There is so much love in this world, so much real love in this world, that there's actually no reason to actually have to walk around giving a facsimile of it. So if you remind yourself, I am bountiful, I am abundant, I am not lacking in worthiness, suddenly a lot of the stuff that happens in a codependent love bonding relationship don't make sense anymore.
Hey, I hope this video was very informative. I hope Blue was able to explain things to you that you just didn't even realize was going on, and something resonated with you here because you stayed that long. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you gained something from this, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget, comment below if you've ever been love bombed or you've love bombed someone else. Like and subscribe.